How's it, everybody? JK, Exilic Music, exilic.co.za, and welcome to our third installment, episode 3 of Unpack the Track. Once again, we're finishing off our unpacking of Neville D's Nobody Like Jesus, the JK remix. And I said to you in our previous video, episode 2, that in this next video, we want to look at what we did with some of the vocal effects. So I'm going to show you a couple of things here. I'm going to show you the effects that we used and some of the chain and the techniques and a bit of the workflow that went into some of those DJ style effects on Kabelo's vocal. And then I also want to show you what we did with the vocoder we used at the end of the song. And then lastly, the sampling, stutter style sampling on Neville's vocal. So let's start with some of the lead vocal effects. Remember this part. Okay, so in the previous video, I basically just played you this. And that's where it ended. So you can see that I muted from there on and chopped that and made an exact copy and moved it onto a new track, a new channel. So what's actually going on here? There's a couple of things. To get this effect, I'm using firstly some filtering, both high passing, low passing. Secondly, I'm using a gate. And thirdly, I'm side chaining the gate from an additional source. So let's first talk about the filtering. So you can see, as I said, I made a copy of this region, moved it down here. So I said to you that we used, firstly, some high pass and low pass filtering. Obviously, that was automated. Okay, put a few in context. So what's happening is the high pass and the low pass is moving at the same time. And that's what's giving you that effect. Okay, so it's getting thinner and darker at the same time. Then we inserted a gate. Okay, and Logic's gates come with some presets. I chose what was called a percussion gate preset because that was the style of gating I wanted to use. Gating has multiple applications. It basically allows a signal through at a certain threshold and then shuts out that signal again. So think of a literal gate that opens to allow a signal in and closes to prevent that signal from going through. But then with a combination of the attack, hold, release, and threshold settings, it's a dynamic tool, much like compression and limiting. With a combination of those tools, you can come up with some really cool creative effects. So that's the gate, and the gate is essentially opening and closing to allow that signal to pass through and to be cut out. Kind of like what a DJ does when he plays with a crossfader at high speed. He's opening the signal and closing the signal. It's the exact same concept, except this is automated. Now, thirdly, where does the timing or the tempo of the gate come from? It comes from an external source. And for that, we use the side chain on the gate. You can see I set the side chain here to actually pick up a source coming from audio track number 33. It's called Kabelo gate source. So let's go and look at that. Here's audio 33. Oops, there it is. And this is the gate source. Now, you're not hearing the gate source, you're just hearing the effect of it. The reason why you're not hearing the gate source is because the volume is turned all the way down. But if I were to turn the volume up and unmute the track, this is what you would hear. Oops, need to turn the volume up. Okay, so that's the gate source, and it's just a funky loop that came from Logic as well. I chopped it up further to taste and changed the vibe of it so that it did what I wanted it to do to Kabelo's vocal. But I don't need the source. I just need what the source is doing. I don't need the audio from that source. And that's essentially how we got this. For the next part, I used the same technique but with a different gate source. You can see it's a different loop. Let me play it for you. Okay, it's like a percussion shaker that I also chopped and played with the dynamics a bit, so it goes louder, softer to create crescendos. And all of that gets translated as the source of the gate in the side chain of that noise gate. And then the fourth thing I did here, which is something I didn't do on the first effects part, is I added a fade, but I turned it into a slow down fade. So it gave it that turntable style. Okay, so it's dropping pitch. And all of those are working together. So it's firstly the high pass and the low pass, secondly the gate, thirdly the side chain, and on this one, fourthly, it's the slow down fade effect, dropping the pitch there. And that's how we did it. Let me show you what we did on the vocoder. So the vocoder starts here. Now you won't see anything here because this is a printed version, an audio export or an audio bounce of that vocoder. But how did we make it? So let me unhide what I've been hiding away from you. Okay, so firstly, what is a vocoder? A vocoder is basically a synthesizer that uses a voice as its signal, like a human voice as its audio signal to trigger the synth. So it doesn't use the waves that come from a typical synth. It uses a voice signal. That's why it's called a vocoder, vo as in voice. Logic has a cool vocoder called the LEAD VOX FX. That's it there. The vocoder also uses a sidechain concept. You can see here I'm using Audio 23, a track called Vocoder Neville on the sidechain of the vocoder. That audio signal on that track or on that channel, Vocoder Neville, is essentially what's triggering the vocoder. As soon as it picks up a signal from that track, Vocoder Neville, whatever's going on that track is going to trigger this vocoder. And once you start playing chords, now it's a MIDI instrument. Once you start playing chords on the vocoder, it's going to sing whatever's happening on Neville vocoder. So let me show you what I mean. Here's Neville vocoder. Let's have a listen to this track. Okay, so it's audio of Neville. And he's kind of singing. Well, he's kind of talking. Let me turn the volume up a bit. You can hear he's not even singing notes.
Are you ready for Brian Temba?
Because really, the notes that he sings doesn't matter. All that matters
is nobody.
All that matters is that we have an audio signal. This is not even, he's not even singing there.
There is nobody.
Well, he's kind of singing, but
there is nobody.
Kind of talking. He's not even in key. There is definitely not singing.
Nobody.
Okay. All we're doing is we're capturing an audio signal, and you can hear the bleed of the studio monitors in the back there. Because really, that doesn't matter. We're just picking up the audio signal, and the signal is loud enough to translate and trigger the vocoder. So now let's look at what's going on the vocoder. The vocoder is basically, like I said, a MIDI instrument. And here we've got MIDI files. If I open it up in the piano roll, you'll see it's playing chords. But the chords that it's playing is the chords triggered by this voice. So here's the two of them together.
Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready for?
So you can hear that
ladies and gentlemen,
there's the actual voice,
ladies and
which is the source file, which serves as the trigger for the chords. If I only solo the chords, which is the MIDI track, which is the actual vocoder, you won't hear anything. The source has to be active,
ladies and gentlemen,
so that we can trigger the vocoder. But I don't want to hear the source. I only want to hear the vocoder. So essentially what we do then is we mute the source track, but the source is still present. And then it works. And obviously that's working because it's going out pre-fade, not post-fade. So the fader doesn't affect the signal. Okay, so I can turn the fader all the way down, and because it's pre-fade, it will still work. Cool. And that's essentially what we did with the vocoder. And then obviously, you know, based on the chords Neville was playing, that's what got triggered. You can hear he's got all these cool chords going on here. You can see the step downs there on that file. Okay, so there's one more little vocal sample part that I want to show you, and it's essentially Neville's vocal underneath Kabelo's rap part. And it's just a cool little ear candy part that helped to accentuate what Kabelo was doing in his rap section. That comes from the original version of Nobody Like Jesus again. It's Neville's part. It's running through the same channel strip that I showed you in the first video. But just show you what we did here. Just chopped some of the vocal part and then also added this little fade. Oops, show you the fade. So it's called a slowdown. So that sounds almost like a DJ kind of scratching or pulling back the record slightly. That's it. Exilic Music, Unpack the Track. That was episode 3 of Neville D's Nobody Like Jesus. Hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Exilic Music. Also, would you please like and share this video, share it on your social media platforms, and just spread the word. Exilic Music, Unpack the Track. See you next time. Exilic.co.za.